Hey everyone, welcome to Newsgirls.
I'm Ren.
And I'm Mabel.
Let's get into the stories. Mabel and I cannot believe we are about to introduce our guest on the show today. We are such huge fans. Not only was he the original George Washington in Hamilton on Broadway, he also played Herbert Wexley in And Just Like That, the Sex and the City spinoff, and he's back on Broadway right now as Davis in Hell's Kitchen. It is Christopher Jackson.
We can't believe that we got this interview with him, especially because it's Hamilton, so the 10-year anniversary of Hamilton, and because the And Just Like That season finale happened last week, so we can't wait to get all of his insights.
We know it's Hamilton, so can you take us back 10 years to when the show opened? Like, what do you remember from the early days? How excited were you to play this prolific figure?
First of all, great to be with you guys. It was exciting. Everything that generates from the world of Lynn and Tommy and me, and like it's just we're all just like this band of creative cats that are just trying to make something cool. The idea that the world would respond to the extent that they did was pretty exciting and also surprising to be in all of the conversations all at once. Because at the end of the day, we were still performing for 1,400 people a night, and it was still something that was just happening in our building. The fact that it's 10 years on and now and it's still moving people still responding to it, the show's still sold out.
And I mean, like, originating a role seems like such an exciting creative challenge. Like, how did you find the character? Do you remember how you kind of prepped this version of George Washington?
I had so much source material, none better than Ron Chernow's biography of Washington. I mean, it won a Pulitzer. I made the argument early on that it could have easily have been called Washington and not Hamilton, but whatever. Lynn wasn't super responsive to that. There were so many things that people felt about him, and that this mythology that follows the founding fathers around. There's so many holes in it. So it was nice to be able to dig and to really learn about the times and how all of these different people just shaped the things that they were trying to do.
I actually went to the George Washington University, so I have a
Hey,
soft spot for George Washington. He's, of course,
right
my
on.
Did you feel any pressure to present George Washington in a certain way?
Not from like a zeitgeist historical societal kind of presentation of it. As actors, we rarely have the challenge, I should say, is to humanize these folks, to make them breathe and move and experience emotion and have disagreements and quite literally run into one another, in the hopes of allowing us to take these figures down from a pedestal and see them as real people.
How do you keep a role alive after the 1,000th performance? I've always wondered, do you get bored after a certain amount of runs? Do you like it even more because you found your stride?
You grow the muscles for the show that you're doing, which is, obviously something that happens after a lot of repetition. But I think so much is made of, well, it's the same show 8 times a week, but it's never the same audience. I often say, you're never the same person walking in the door. You've got a sore back. You've got a deadline for some other project. Doing the shows in repetition over a long run, it does present some challenges, but not from the standpoint of I'm really bored. Because the whole basis of why we're on the stage is the opportunity to tell the story to someone who hasn't heard it yet.
And you got to step back into George Washington for one night just a few months ago at the Tonys. And how was that?
Yeah.
What was it like to embody this character again? Did you have to prep?
No, there's a lot to be found in muscle memory, and the memory of where we spent so much time together as a cast that it was really exciting to kind of stand in those shoes again. All of our lives changed so completely. There's only a few other people in the world that had that experience.
Have a favorite song or scene that you were most excited to perform again?
I mean, all of them. I'm not being coy. There's not a single moment in that show that isn't memorable for 1,000 different independent reasons. I get just as much enjoyment from doing a particular song as I get from watching Renee and Jasmine and Pippa sing any of the Schuyler sister stuff, or listen to Lynn or listen to Leslie, recite those opening bars. It doesn't get any better than that.
It is hard, but I will say one of my favorite parts is History Has Its Eyes on You. I think that's one of the most and especially right now, I still see posting that on their Instagram stories because it resonates so much right now. How did being a part of this show change how you think of history and even politics?
I have always been fascinated with history. the Revolutionary era was clearly messy and fraught and misguided in a lot of ways, which, when you're forming a country and forming America specifically, there's no question that there was a lot of things that they just simply got wrong. And the fact that we're here now, I think 250 years later, is a testament to the strength of the ideals that they tried to espouse, even though they were personally unable to do that, in their own lives.
Moving on to another iconic project that you have been a part of, we really wanted to get into and Just Like That, which is, of course, the Sex and the City
Hey.
that
Yeah.
you're a part of. We're so curious. Can you tell us, like, the story about how you got this role? How were you approached?
Michael Patrick King called me and asked if I would be interested. Michael Patrick King is a genius. The man has created some of the most memorable television moments of my lifetime. I'd met Cynthia and I'd met Sarah before. I hadn't met Nicole Ari Parker. Our first, our first day on set together was our first meeting, and here we are. We're a married couple. Everyone was so welcoming and enthusiastic and taking the job very, very seriously. And this is the show that's obviously been around for a very, very long time. It spans generations. I was in my 20s. I watched the show because I wanted girlfriends and I wanted to be able to relate to whatever girlfriend I had might be, interested in. They're like, and it's one of the most popular shows on TV, so as an actor, I wanted to be on the show. I think to have such an iconic show exist in the way that we knew it, go away, and then come back into this world that we're in post-COVID. That was like the jump back into the world.
Right.
There's a lot of things, these huge like societal swings that happened. The show was trying to meet some of that. The show was trying to speak to some of that. The show was trying to take an honest look at what these particular characters had grown into and what they were still navigating. I think that there's nothing that's inherently interesting. And when he told me I was going to play a black, 100 millionaire, I'm like, yeah, I'll be down for that.
The Wexley family was such a breath of fresh air. Like Mabel and I both watched every episode of And Just Like That.
I love that the Wexleys they were doing very common things. They were extremely wealthy, living in a $50 million, penthouse apartment with their 3 kids. But like they were still, the kids were still a problem. The work-life balance is still an issue. We all have the commonality in all of these things. But it was exciting to be able to portray a family that we hadn't seen yet on TV before.
And of course it ended like last week. How do you feel about the ending of the show and the way that your character kind of ended up?
The very personal experience of it all for me was incredibly fulfilling because going to work every day felt like I was doing something that was, the show has its silly moments and it has its more sincere moments, but every day at work was incredibly sincere. And everyone there was incredibly professional and working very hard to be at their very, very best and to support everybody else at their very best. So I'm not quite sure that I'm at the point yet where I can comment necessarily on the whys and the hows.
And so we won't know for sure what happens to these characters, but in your mind, what do you think is next for the Wexley fam? Do you think your character will run for another election?
You know what I think? I think we need to have a spinoff. I think we need a spinoff so that we can explore this family a little bit more. I think we should do anything that puts Nicole Ari Parker and those brilliant actors playing our family, and maybe me. I think we should set that up. I think in order to answer that question, we should absolutely just go ahead and line one up and just go.
Yes, you heard it here first.
That's it.
And we know that this isn't like your first TV show that you've done, but you've just been a part of like so many different things. Like you've done voice work for movies, you've been on Broadway, you've done TV shows. Do you have like a favorite? What is like the charm of one that maybe like supersedes the other?
That's a good question. Honestly, I'm not being coy. My favorite thing is the next thing I get to do. I fear staying in one place too long. I just like variety. I'm an artist. I like I like different sounds. I mean, you can tell I'm in my studio right now. Like I don't collect guitars for the sake of collecting them. Each one is a paintbrush. Obviously I love the stage. It's so informative and being able to connect to audiences again in real time. But I would not be mad at jumping on a TV show tomorrow.
And so let's talk about Hell's Kitchen.
Okay.
Your first time back on Broadway since Hamilton. And we know Hell's Kitchen is getting rave reviews. So for those of us who haven't seen it, those of our audience listening, what is so special about the show?
Well, I mean, it's a New York-based show, a few blocks from where the theater is on 44th Street, and it's a story with Alicia Keys music. It's a story about an enduring relationship between a mom and her daughter, and how the forces of growing up and the pull of love, young love, and the enthusiasm and the stubbornness of that teenager, um, how it intersects with like learning how what things in life are the most important.
And what has been so fulfilling or like challenging for you about playing Davis, like your character in this show?
Bit biographical. My dad was a kind of a Davis, enters the room smiling. Everyone loves him coming in. Kind of didn't like him going out. I think there, and he's an artist.
You mentioned with And Just Like That and this show that they're kind of love letters to New York, and you've happened to
Yeah.
be in some of like In the Heights and Hamilton, obviously, such quintessential New York shows and content. And we understand you're actually from Illinois, which I love. I'm from Wisconsin, so
Oh, right on Midwest.
we have the
Yeah.
Midwest. But how has being a part of these like very New York shows deepened your appreciation for the city?
I couldn't have gone anywhere else in the world and been able to do what I've done. I always say, like, New York embraced me the moment I came here, much like it does millions of other people. It's a testament to the fact that everybody in New York is an immigrant. Everybody here is from somewhere else.
Yeah.
The idea that, New York embraces you once you embrace it.
We did want to end on asking, because we heard that you're working on some solo projects, so we just wanted to ask you if you were willing to share.
I am. I'm doing, I've finished an album. And now we're into the fun part of deconstructing it and putting it back together. I've just received a commission from the Chautauqua Theater to write music and lyrics to adapt a young adult novel called The Crossover, written by Kwame Alexander. So that is exciting. I'm hard at it with all of those things up until 4:30 every day, and that's when I have to go to work.